Two Clicks Philip just made a big mistake. The Galil versus the FAMAS, the battle of the cheap rifles, for when you want more firepower than an SMG but don't have enough money for an AK or M4. In fact, less skilled players should actually play better with the cheap rifles since it's easier to control their spray and to run and gun with them. But which of these two cheap rifles is better? Put it simply, the terrorist's Galil is cheaper, deals the same damage, has better armor penetration, damage at range drops off less, it has 10 bullets more in its magazine, and its first shot is more accurate. In the CT FAMAS's favour, you can move 5 units per second faster with it, and spraying with it can be more precise, if controlled properly. It also has a burst mode that nobody uses, but which has a very accurate first shot. The one downside of the Galil, and the one that really distances itself from the more expensive AK-47, is that it can't one-hit kill against helmeted enemies. But then again, the CT's FAMAS can't either, nor can their more expensive M4s. With all things considered, I would rate the Galil more closely to the M4s than I would to the FAMAS. But it's still not quite as good, being significantly less accurate and slower to run with. But then again, the M4s are $1,100 more, so they should be better. Not that it matters for this video though, since I'm only really comparing the two cheapest rifles. Let's start with the damage. The Galil will always be the same or better than the FAMAS in any situation, because although they both deal the same base damage, the Galil has better armor penetration. Still not enough to one-hit kill helmeted enemies, but it's close. Second, damage drop-off is only 2% compared with the FAMAS's 4%, making the Galil a better choice to snipe with. Both are well below the 15 or so % drop-off that SMGs have, mind, and both are equal for wall banging. But once again, because of the other factors, the Galil will tend to do better. A useful combination is one chest and one headshot, or the other way round. With the FAMAS, this combination has a lethal range of 600 units, which is about this, whereas the Galil's is 3,700 units, further than almost anywhere on any map. This is a major reason for why the FAMAS, particularly in burst mode, feels so ineffective. How can two supposedly equal weapons have such different lethal ranges? First shot was surprising for me. You'd think that being CT, the FAMAS would at least have a better first shot accuracy, but it doesn't. There's not much in it, but the Galil is just that little bit better. Switch to the burst fire, however, and the FAMAS's first shot becomes the best. Not just better than the Galil, but also the M4 and AK, even on par with the SG and AUG when they're not scoped in. Of course, the second shot of the burst is less precise and the third is way off, and you deplete your 25 round magazine in just 9 taps, which isn't ideal either. But at least the option's there. Now the spray patterns. I've disabled inaccuracy for now, so what you're seeing here is only the bit that you can learn to remove by moving your mouse in the opposite direction. What you want here is a simple pattern so that you can easily compensate for it. Now this is the one area where the two cheap rifles are simply different, rather than better or worse. The first 3 shots with the Galil land pretty much where you're shooting, compared with the first 2 from the FAMAS before the bullets begin to head upwards and above the crosshair. However, I think that it works in the FAMAS's favour, since you don't have to compensate for sideways recoil until the 6th shot, compared with the Galil's 4th. After about 10 from either gun, you've maxed out the initial upwards recoil and the Galil becomes easier again since it just snakes left and right. The FAMAS continues to need vertical adjustments as well. Because of this, I believe that the Galil is the easiest weapon to spray with, and it lasts longer too thanks to the extra 10 bullets in its magazine. Both require practice. You certainly can't handle them both in the same way and expect the best possible results. If we get rid of the spray patterns, we're left with the inaccuracy, or the bit that you can't compensate for. This is what would happen if you sprayed 10 full magazines from either gun, perfectly compensating for the spray pattern with every shot. Your shots when spraying would still miss where you're aiming by up to this much at a distance of 1,000 units, which is about as far as you'd like to be spraying from. It's roughly the distance from here on cache to where the terrorists will poke their curious little heads out from. This is where the FAMAS is better than the Galil, because although the first shot is worse, the recoil reduces sooner, making spraying with it slightly more precise. This gives the FAMAS a higher skill ceiling than the Galil, if you can be bothered to master the recoil pattern and the unintuitive nature of the burst fire mode. Mobility is another minor win for the FAMAS, letting you move at 220 units a second rather than the Galil's 215. This difference also changes the way that tagging works. Although both weapons will slow an enemy down the same amount if you shoot them, if you're the one who's shot then you'd rather be holding the FAMAS, as it will slow you down less. Plus if you're jumping and shooting then the FAMAS is also marginally better. But you shouldn't be playing like that in the first place. Price-wise, the Galil wins by a flash and decoy's worth. It's a great deal. UCT sure get ripped off by your supplier. And ammo-wise, it's another win for the Galil. I always consider 30 to be the norm for automatic weapons, making the 35 in the Galil very generous and the 25 in the FAMAS rather miserly. It does make a difference to how long you can hold a position before needing to hide for a reload. So, in conclusion, I am happy to say that the Galil is comfortably the best weapon in most situations, but the FAMAS is slightly better for spraying if the owner can control the recoil pattern fully. And hey, as CT I do still buy the FAMAS sometimes. I don't like doing it, but it does have a place in bridging the gap between the SMGs and M4s, especially if you're covering a mid to long range distance. But terrorists? Don't feel bad if you're stuck with a Galil rather than an AK. Sure, it's less accurate and less powerful, but you've just saved yourself enough money to buy a vest as well. Still for under the price of an AK, and far below what a CT would pay for an M4 alone. Hell, you could even throw a decoy in as well. Don't forget the decoy.